Just reflecting back on the bye week, just thought our bye week is just timed out. The last two that we've had, obviously, just timed out at really good points in our season. Obviously, to kind of go through that middle stretch and win those 4 games was obviously huge for us. It was huge for our growth as a team, and certainly as a defense. For us to be able to clean some things up with momentum over the bye week was huge for us. And I think, when you look at this last stretch and some of the things that we have to do against some very good opponents, certainly a great opponent in Penn State, I think we needed this rest. I think we needed this time to get prepared, and I think our guys did a really good job getting prepared as utilizing our bye week as best we could. As we look on this week to Penn State, obviously we're going against a very talented football team that executes at a very high level. Obviously I'm sure they were disappointed in their loss the other day. 2 very good teams. I thought Minnesota did some great things, played very hard against them, executed well, and ultimately, Penn State came up a little bit short. But they're both really good football teams, and that's probably how that game was going to go. It was a toss-up right there until the end. I think Penn State does a really nice job of utilizing their personnel in the right way. I think they've got dynamic players on the outside. Certainly, KJ Hamler, just his explosiveness, the way that they get him in one-on-one matchups, I think is something that we have to be aware of at all times in what we're doing defensively. But at the same time, I think their tight end, Pat Freiermuth, I'm probably jacking that name up, but he's a very, very talented tight end, one-on-one. Did I jack it up? Close enough? All right, nailed it. Way to go. But I think he's dynamic. I think he's one of the best tight ends in our league. I think he's an NFL tight end that creates one-on-one matchups. He can body people up. They do a nice job of finding ways to get him the ball. They certainly know that he is a feature player, and they use him as such. And then, you look at their backfield, I don't know if they have any one player that necessarily is their guy, but they just have a good stable of backs. Noah Kane and Journey Brown and Devin Ford, all those guys are good players that hit the hole well. I think that Journey Brown has that kind of second gear where he can create an explosive play as he did early in the Minnesota game. Thought he did a nice job of just bouncing it outside and going. And then if you look at it, Sean Clifford's he's got more carries than any of them. I think he's got 77 attempts right now, and certainly some of those are scrambles and whatnot. But he has moved the ball effectively, particularly in key situations. They find ways to get the ball in his hand, kind of that one plus offensive mentality, and get him in the stutter read or zone read or whatever it may be, and he's effective with the ball in his hands. So we have to be aware of that. Questions?
I know you guys had an idea of what you were getting in Taiwan. He was at least what we used to call an Army All-American, and he had obviously kind of the lineage of his brother who played. But what has allowed him, just from a coaching and schematic perspective, in your mind, to go from being a freshman, a guy who was outside the depth chart at some point this year, to being a guy that you're looking at week by week saying we need to find more snaps, more of a role for him because he's doing these different things well?
I think there's 3 things that play into that. One is just the confidence that he has in the way that he goes out and plays the game of football, right? He's a confident individual that believes in his ability every time he walks out on the field. He wants to go against the best of the best. And every week he asks me to get placed on the best of the best, and he's proven that. He's earned that right to go one-on-one. And particularly on third down situations, we got to get him lined up against what we think is one of their greatest threats. And so I think from that standpoint, just simple confidence in the way he does it. He's he just has good football IQ and instincts. It just comes naturally. There's some things he did in the Northwestern game. They throw an out route to the number 2 receiver. He comes off and makes the play. He gets a big PBU on that. He's not coached to do that, but he does it sometimes. And naturally, you're careful that, hey, great job, let's make sure we don't cut our guy loose, but at the same time, you don't want to overcoach a guy like that. They have a natural instinct for making plays. And then I think lastly, the way we utilize our corners, I think we keep things simple enough for young guys that we recognize are talented enough to come in and play. And that's why Jalen Williams, Reese Taylor, and Taiwan, even though those two guys are a year older than Taiwan, have played, I think, at an above-average level certainly for their age.
Yeah, just following up on that point, your comfort level of putting Taiwan on an island with Hamler, or how much help is he going to maybe get during the course of the game, or how do you kind of deal with him in terms of coverage?
Yeah, I think you go in with a few different plans, right? You have your contingency plans, you have what you want to do against them, and then what you have to answer against them. I think we will do a good job of mixing it up. I don't think we can give any one look from a coverage standpoint, because I think Sean Clifford does a good enough job of being decisive in some of his coverage and reading things, and he can rope it out there. He's got a good arm, all that kind of stuff. So we got to do a good job of mixing coverage, also being aware of where 1 and 87 are, and not to discredit some of the other receivers, but I think it's always our job to take away their greatest threats.
Coach, I know after Ohio State and Michigan State, we kind of talked a lot about how if you haven't done it, you don't know if you have the confidence to do it in a big game, in a big moment. Yeah. Now that you guys have had some success, especially on those road games with closing things out and such, can you give me a little barometer as to where you guys are as a complete unit, confidence-wise, to be able to go up to Penn State and play well up there?
I think our confidence. I think we're certainly capable of going in there. We've seen big environments on the road, to go get a Nebraska win when really in the first half everything was, quote unquote going wrong, and so for our guys to kind of be able to settle in that environment and to go turn it back around and play as well as they played at the end in those critical stops, I think, the experience of that is phenomenal for us. I mean, this is a very good team. I mean, they have talent. They have talent at different positions, so you can't just say, well, we're just going to go take KJ Hamler away, because they've got other guys that they can get the ball to. I think this will be a phenomenal challenge for our football team, and time will tell whether we're ready to step up to that challenge. But I'm excited to go play. I know that.
Coach, just a couple questions, but the first one, how beneficial is it to have film on a team that has a loss, obviously the Minnesota loss?
Yeah.
And also the second question is, have you seen enough growth from your secondary to, obviously you've touched on the confidence already, but to have the confidence to show them different looks when it comes to a passing attack like Penn State's?
Yeah, I think to answer your question, good question about, I do think that Minnesota did some things, that were really good stuff. I thought there were some things out there that, that Minnesota did that Penn State took advantage of, and vice versa. There were things that we can certainly take away from a big game and big environment like that. You know what a team. The nice thing about a game like that is not so much even that they had a loss, but it was a close game at the end, so it reveals who Penn State is when the game is on the line. Does that make sense? For me, as a defensive coordinator, I always want to know what is the true personality of their offensive mind and their offensive staff. And so on top of that, where's the quarterback want to go with the ball? And when the game is on the line, you get a very accurate picture of who they are and what they want to be. And I think that was probably critical. Tell me your last question. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I think our guys have built confidence as the season goes on. I'm probably as hard on them as anybody. I always want to see us take another step. I think we've shown to be a solid defense. We're doing some really good things. I don't think we've played our best football defensively. I don't think we have. I think that is the challenge for us, and that's what we need to do. Good defenses get better and better and better as seasons go on, to where when you get in this last stretch, the great defenses shine through, and I think we have yet to show that, but certainly optimistic that we have the opportunity.